Hello, children. Would you like to hear a story? How about Jack and the Beanstalk? Once upon a time, there lived a farmer and his wife and their little boy, Jack. They worked very hard and they were very happy on their farm. One night, a funny little man came to the door and said, "I am so hungry. Do you have any food to share with me?" Well, Jack's mother and father brought him in and shared all the food they had for dinner. When the night was over, the little man said, "To thank you for your kindness, I would like to give you a present. Here is this gold harp, and it will play whenever you want it to." Well, the harp was beautifully gold, and it seemed if you looked at it that it had the face of a little girl. And when they asked it to play, it played the most beautiful music and made them so happy. From then on, every night, when they were done with their work, all the farmers from the nearby towns would come over to the farm, and the harp would play to them, and she seemed so happy to play, and everyone left feeling so much better, as if they were not tired anymore and ready to face another day. One sad day, a giant came into the land. He tromped on all the crops and ruined them. When the men went to fight him, the giant smote them with his hand, and Jack's father died. And on his way out, the giant stole the little girl harp and took it with him. Well, as the years went by, Jack and his mother worked very hard, but they got poorer and poorer. And finally, they were down to just owning their cow, Milky White. They would milk her every morning and make cheese out of some of the milk and go to town and sell the milk and the cheese, and that's how they bought food to keep themselves. Finally, one day, Milky White was so old that she couldn't give milk anymore. And Jack's mother was so worried. How will they feed themselves? So she said to Jack, "Take Milky White to town and try and sell him for as much money as you can get, for we'll have to live on that money from now on." Well, Jack took Milky White and he started on his way to town. But on the way, he ran into a funny little man. And the funny little man said, "Where are you going, Jack?" Jack wasn't surprised to hear that the old man knew his name, but he answered him, "I'm going into town to sell our cow Milky White, for we have no more money for food." The funny little man said, "I will give you something better than money. I will give you 3 magic beans, and with those beans you can find your fortune." Well, Jack was enthralled, but he wasn't sure. And finally the old man said, "If they turn out not to be magic, you can meet me here tomorrow, and I will give you back Milky White." So Jack said, "Okay," and he traded Milky White for 3 magic beans and ran home to tell his mother. Well, his mother was so angry. She said, "How could you sell our cow for 3 little beans?" And she took the beans and threw them out the window. And she sent Jack to bed without any supper. The next morning, when Jack woke up and looked out the window, he saw that the 3 beans had grown into this giant beanstalk that looked like it touched the sky. So he jumped out his window and he started to climb the beanstalk. He climbed all day, and when he got to the top and looked down, he was above the clouds. There was a road in front of him with a giant house at the end of it. And he went down the road and knocked on the door. A giant woman answered, and when she saw Jack, she was very surprised. Jack said, "Please, could I come in and have some food? I haven't eaten all day, and I didn't have any supper last night." And the giant woman felt badly for him. She said, "Well, boy, you can come in quickly and have something to eat, but you must be gone by the time my husband, the giant, comes home." So she brought him in and she made him a big meal, with pancakes and waffles and eggs and bacon and toast and muffins, and Jack ate and ate until he was full. And then they heard a clump, loud outside the house. And the lady giant said, "It's my husband. Hide." So Jack ran into the cupboard and he hid. And soon the giant came into the house, and over his shoulder he had a sack with 3 pigs in it. He said, "Wife, cook these pigs for my supper." So the wife ran to the stove and started to cook them. And the giant sniffed around the house, and he said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to bake my bread." And the giant wife said, "Oh, nonsense, that's just the pig's cooking that you're smelling." And she gave the giant his supper. But when she gave him his coffee, she put a little sleeping pill into it. Well, the giant ate the whole supper, and as he was getting drowsy, he said to his wife, "Bring me my bags of gold." And she brought out his bags of gold, and he started to count them, but he was getting very sleepy from the pill and soon fell asleep right there at the table. The wife rushed to the cupboard and said, "Jack, quick, run away before he wakes up and finds you." And as Jack ran out, he grabbed one of the bags of gold and ran down the road and climbed down the beanstalk as fast as he could. His mother, who had been so worried all day about him, saw him coming down, and when he told her the story, his mother realized this must have been the same giant that had killed Jack's father. She was happy to see the gold, but she was happier to see Jack home all in one piece. And she said, "Don't ever climb that beanstalk again. It's too dangerous." Well, Jack and his mother lived on the gold and the food it could buy them for quite some time. But one day the money started to run out, and Jack was looking at the beanstalk again. And the next morning, before his mother woke up, he climbed up the beanstalk again. He climbed all day until he came out high, high above the clouds. And there he saw the same road and the same giant house at the end of the road. And he went down and knocked on the door. And the same giant lady answered. She said, "Oh no, I can't believe you came back. The giant was furious when he saw that one of his bags of gold had disappeared. You can't let him catch you here." He said, "Please, I'm so hungry. I've been climbing all day. Can't I have something to eat?" She said, "All right, but make sure you're gone before the giant comes home." So she cooked Jack a beautiful meal, and he sat down and ate up every bit. But before he was done, they felt the ground shake, and they heard the clump, clump, clump of the giant coming back home. She said, "Quick, Jack, hide over here in this other closet." And she pushed him in the closet just as the giant was coming in the door with a big sack over his shoulder with 3 sheep in it. He gave the sack to his wife and said, "Here, wife, cook these sheep up for my supper." And as she was cooking them, he walked around the house sniffing, and he said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." And the wife said, "Oh, nonsense, there's no Englishman here. You're just smelling me cooking the sheep. That's what it is." So she gave the giant his supper, and again she put a little bit of sleeping powder in his coffee. When he was done eating, he said, "Bring me my golden hen." And the wife went and brought him a hen, and the hen laid a golden egg, and then the giant fell asleep. While Jack was hiding in the closet, he saw next to him on a shelf this beautiful golden harp, and it seemed to have the face of a girl in it, but she looked so sad. And she said, "Please, won't you take me with you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm afraid to do that. I've got to get out of here quick." And the giant's wife opened the door and said, "Come on, boy, get out." So Jack ran out the door, and on his way past the table, he grabbed the golden hen and ran down the road and climbed down the beanstalk where his mother was waiting. And again, she was so worried. When she saw the golden hen, she said, "Oh, Jack, what have you taken this time?" And he said, "This hen will lay a golden egg every day, so we'll never be hungry again." Well, the hen did lay a golden egg every day, and soon they had enough money that they were able to share it with the other farms around them, and so their neighbors weren't hungry either. They lived like that for quite a while. But Jack could never forget the sad face of the little girl on the golden harp. And one morning, when he could take it no longer, he climbed the beanstalk for a third time. When he got to the top and was above all the clouds, he saw the road, and he ran down the road and knocked on the door. When the giant wife answered, she said, "You foolish boy, why did you come back? My husband is ready to kill you." And Jack said, "Please, I've been climbing all day. Can't I come in one more time?" Well, the giant wife was reluctant, but she finally let him come in and cooked up some food very fast and said, "You must eat this very quickly and get out. My husband mustn't find you here." Well, he wasn't quite done eating when they heard the clump, clump, clump of the giant coming home. The giant wife pushed Jack back into the closet and said, "Shh, don't say a word. Let me see if we can fool him one more time." So the giant came in, and in the big sack on his shoulder he had 3 cows, and he gave them to his wife, and he said, "Cook these up for my supper." And as she cooked, and she was trembling, she was so afraid, the giant sniffed around and said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." The wife said, "Nonsense, husband, it's just the cooking you smell," and she brought him his dinner. But she brought him his coffee, and she put a little bit of sleeping powder in it, but it wasn't very much. And he said, "Wife, bring me my golden harp." So the wife went into the closet and told Jack. She took the golden harp and brought it to the giant, and the giant said, "Play." And the girl started to play a very sad song with tears coming down her face. She didn't like living with the giant. He was so cruel. Finally, the giant fell asleep, and Jack came out of the cupboard and went by the table and grabbed the golden harp. But as he did, he bumped into the giant, and the giant started to wake up. Jack ran and ran as fast as he could down the road, down the beanstalk, but before he could get to the bottom, he could hear the giant climbing down the beanstalk above him. His mother was waiting as usual at the bottom of the beanstalk, and he called to her, "Bring me my axe." When he got to the bottom, he handed the mother the harp, and he took his axe and chopped as fast as he could. And just before the giant was able to get down, the beanstalk fell, and the giant crashed and died. Well, the little harp was so happy to be back with Jack's mother and Jack again. And Jack and his mother and the pretty girl harp lived on their farm, and every night after supper she would play her music, now it was happy music again, for all the neighbors. And Jack and his mother and the harp and the hen that laid the golden eggs all lived happily ever after. The end. I love you.